Welcome, folks, to the May 24th HR Board meeting of the town of Newbury. This is Mark Leckman, Chairman of the HR Board. Let me confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Diane Doyle?
Yes.
John Lucy?
Yes.
John Ferrara?
Yes.
Anthony Antico?
Yes.
And Mark Leckman. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Tracy Blaze, Town Administrator.
Yes.
Thank you. Good afternoon. This open meeting of the Newbury HR Board is being conducted virtually, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, and the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we've been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. The order, which you can find posted on the town's website, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not, however, ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment as it is not a public meeting, a public hearing. For this meeting, the Newbury HR Board is convening via Zoom meeting link as posted on the agenda on the town's website. All the materials for the meeting, except any executive session materials, are available on the website, and we recommend the members and the public follow the agenda as posted. We're now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I'll go down the line of board members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, question, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone. We can dispense with that. Please remember to speak clearly and in ways that help generate accurate minutes. For any response, wait till the chair yields the floor to you and be sure to state your name. If members wish to engage in dialogue with other members, please do so through the chair, being careful to identify yourself. And finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. Is there a motion to open the meeting?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Diane Doyle. Diane, I think you're muted.
Sorry, yes.
John Ferrara.
Yes.
Tony Antico.
Yes.
John Lucy.
Yes.
Are you with us, John? Hi. And Mark Leckman, yes. Meeting is open. Let me quickly, with Tracy having to scoot here in a minute, let me quickly move down to the order of business. I'd just like her to take a moment and refresh a memory on. This is on the subject of performance evaluations. We may recall that a decision was made a number of months ago, given the crunch of budget season, the election, town meeting. We made, I think, the proper decision to hold any further discussion about this topic until after we've gotten through all that, which we now have. I think the time is right for us to start kicking this around again. And I thought before we get too deeply into it, I would ask Tracy to just give us some real brief thoughts about, what your vision might be of sort of introducing this topic into the workforce. How simple would you like it to be? Understanding that it's something that's being introduced for the first time, and chances are I might have some gremlins in the system that need to be worked out. And I say I want to ask this because the next thing we have to do is go to the Board of Selectmen to make sure or ask if they're comfortable with the prospect, because it needs to pass select board approval as a bylaw, as part of the personnel bylaw. And so before we even get to that, let me just open up the floor to Tracy to give us some introductory thoughts.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've worked with performance evaluation systems in the past. They can be a very effective tool in many aspects in terms of work improvement when necessary, rewards when it's appropriate and the likes. And we all know, unfortunately, there are those opportunities when we have to use them, when we have to take some kind of definitive action relative to whether or not someone would continue on in their employ with the town. They are a very, very helpful tool in many aspects. We've been hesitant to deploy them here in the town of Newbury for various reasons. Select board members have had various different reasons over the years. The last time we spoke to them, there was, I think I'd say, hesitation, but they certainly entertained the possibility of doing them in the future. I think I would love to be able to, if we're going to do it, to move it forward in a very comprehensive manner so that there is the ability for rewards when necessary, or when warranted, I should say. It is difficult here in Newbury because we have such a very small workforce that is outside of collective bargaining agreements. And there is a very, there's an awareness of what everybody else is doing or what everybody else is getting and those types of things when you're in a small workforce like ours. So I just think it should be simple for sure. If we move forward, keep it as simple as possible. And that when we do offer this proposal, that it's just comprehensive and addresses all of those items. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Tracy. I would just mention that Tracy and I over the last couple of months have been passing back and forth some samples from different towns. I think from MMA, if I'm not mistaken. There are as many different sizes, shapes, types, forms of performance evaluations as there are towns in the Commonwealth and beyond. So I don't think we'll have any shortage of material available to use to put together one that we're comfortable with, but we're not there yet. With that in mind, just one other thought for me, and then I'll open it up to quick comments from the other board members. The other thing we talked about in the past is that it's not an absolute requirement that performance evaluations be connected to compensation. In some cases they are, in some cases they're not. On a personal level, I'm not married to one idea or the other. It's just something we should be thinking about, especially, in an environment where recently given budget, given funding, we may be talking about cost of living and not much more. So again, that's something we can tie to it. It's something we can choose not to tie to the performance evaluation. We can get to that at another point in time. With that in mind, let me open it up to any quick comments. Tony, thoughts?
No, I've just been doing a little research online. I think I might have mentioned it to you, relative to performance management. And there's quite a bit out there. And it's really, it's different from an appraisal system. Read articles, what it is and what it isn't, but it's to me, I don't have the concept yet to see it different from an appraisal of even beginning with the job description. What's the job that somebody comes in town thinks they want to hire him or her, so you have to compare that person to the job, what the town believes or has published what the job is, and it's again it's very extensive, and it's new ideas, and it said I'm just quoting here one sentence: performance management is the process of creating a work environment or setting in which people are enabled to perform to the best of their ability. And, you know, that's a very fluid concept. So to me, it's a whole work in progress, quite frankly. And it's interesting. But in fact, one thing I did look, as I mentioned last time, I compared it to the military, what do they call it? The annual review system for enlisted people as well as officers. And that is definitely a performance-oriented tool. And the person knows exactly what they have to do. Like in the military, it's easy because you're given what they call an MOS, military occupational specialty, very, very specific. And then when you get higher up, you know, they even talk about people you're associated with, you know, your unit development. So a total performance-oriented with critiques and criticisms and sit-downs with your superiors, and that for years has been performance-oriented. So, but anyway, my point is basically there's a lot out there, and I think, you know, rather we should really know, you know, how the terms are used and what they're defined as. That's all.
Thank you, Tony. Chief Lucy, thoughts?
No, actually, Tony covered a lot of it. You know, I would echo a lot with what Tony said. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts trying to pare something down to our very close-knit community that is, you know, the employees of the town of Newbury is going to be an interesting task, as Tracy kind of outlaid too. I mean, you know, there's a lot of moving parts here. I think there's a lot of discussion before anything gets put in play.
Thank you, Chief. Diane Doyle?
I think there's great merit in the performance evaluation or discussion. It doesn't, you know, necessarily have to be an evaluation, but the discussion about elevating one's performance in their role. I think that's what Tracy would agree, you know, is the goal, to have everyone elevated in their own performance within their function. I think I agree with John in terms of, I just think about the details of how we roll it out, how we make it consistent across the board. And, you know, I think that there's definitely merit in helping everyone be better at their role, but getting into the performance evaluation, how it's done, how we can make it consistent across the board, there's a lot of details to be worked out. And I wonder, as Tracy said, I think we are a very small community of people here, and, you know, it's just, it's hard where everyone sort of understands what's happening, you know. And if it's not going to be tied to any sort of, I understand that it doesn't necessarily have to be tied to a reward or any sort of salary compensation, because really we want people to just be, you know, performing at a certain level and having that open dialogue. So I think that can be accomplished in many different ways, but I think it's definitely worth, you know, exploring it. I just think there's a lot to be worked out in terms of how it's rolled out and how we manage the process.
No question. Thank you. John Ferrari, your thoughts?
I get the sense that, as in Tony's discussion, that it's all about categories. I mean, you look at the town of Newbury job descriptions and the efforts we make each time with 30 pages of describing all the complexities within job title, job description, innovation and leadership and communication skills, all of the things that they sign on as they become part of the town's employment leadership team. And the time management, customer experience, and the customers are the citizens of the Village Triune. And problem solving, leadership. That's what every department bases, and that's what the fitness report is for the U.S. military. Those are the categories right out of a fitness report. The complexity of a leadership position, complexity of a responsible position. Even though it has no leadership, there is always that component of self-discipline. I think the essence of this discussion is more how is it sold to the board. They may see this as an encumbering difficult thing to add to their roster of responsibility, because they're going to be called in perhaps at an uncomfortable level if somebody's not measuring up. And in the release of an employee, they may be the last word, the last word in anybody's process, starting with department head all the way to the board. So I think it's a comfort zone as to how we proceed. How do you get the Board of Selectmen to recognize that giving solid review of the job description that we work so hard to get a 1 or higher measurement.
Thank you, John. My thought is that we have to start somewhere. And, if we have to dip our toe into this water here, which I would like to do, I think this is the time to do it, with the understanding that, between now and finished product, there will be lots of dialogue, lots of meetings, lots of testing, if you will, of the various types of performance evaluations that exist out there, or we can, pardon the expression, we can bastardize some and create our own. We don't have to take what somebody else is already using. We can pick one from column A and one from column B if we want, come up with our own. It's important that we know our constituents, our employee population. It's also important that we understand the select board's instincts on this. But I think what we need to start is at least an opportunity for Tracy to perhaps, and I'm not sure what the schedule is tomorrow, Tracy, but I know there's a select board meeting. Is this topic just in general something that you would be comfortable incorporating into your town administrator's report, or something akin to that, as you address the select board in a meeting, whether it's tomorrow night or the next meeting, and just say, this is something that we're noodling on, and if you're comfortable doing that, I would hope that at least Tracy could go to the select board with the understanding that the HR board is at least conceptually in favor of this idea. We're not voting on anything tonight. We're not pinpointing any particular program or evaluation or form, but just conceptually, if it can be done right, if it can be done simply, if there's value add, if it protects the town, is it something that the select board as a group feels would be a good thing for the town of Newbury? I would think that's the first thing we need to decide on before even Tracy takes it to the HR board, to the select board, because they're going to be looking for our input. So perhaps kind of a straw poll without officially voting on it. On a personal level, I would certainly like to see something created that can be used. How do other folks feel? Are we ready to engage in that kind of a dialogue? Don't rush at me.
I think that bringing it up just as a putting your fingers on the pulse of the climate as to what the board would be interested in, that's fine, I think, but I don't think that'll fly in their meeting. I think they're going to want more right away. I think we need to have more of an idea of what the scope is and what the goals are. Those are the types of questions that I anticipate that they would ask Tracy at a meeting. That sounds great. To what end? What are we trying to accomplish? And I just don't know if we want to have some of that tentatively vetted out before we bring it up. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm making sense, but it just seems like we might have to have a little bit more of a vision as to what we're presenting, other than, hey, what do you think? Is this a good idea to have evaluations and then not be able to really discuss beyond that point? I think it'd be more confusing, personally.
Other thoughts? John, Diane?
My sense is that everybody that works for the town of Newbury has a job description, and they're expected to meet that job description and actually bring, I would suggest, a level of excellence and a level of advancement to that job position. And if they move across the aisle to another department or leave, that they leave whatever their responsibility zone is in better shape than when they arrived. I think performance reviews are essential. They're systemic. And I think it really does come down to presenting to the select board that every entity that's out there that's performing and has enormous responsibility, as do the employees of the town of Newbury, that they should be judged on their performance, on the responsibilities that they have from complexity to leadership et al. Circumstances kind of rudimentary, and let the board know that it's part of their responsibility, that if somebody is performing well, they participate in the advancement of that individual, selection for maybe coming laterally to take over a departing department head, higher within, as well as pay raises or dismissals. And the dismissal part is the hard part.
John, if I may, let me ask Tracy this, and Tracy, correct me if I'm wrong before we get down that path, because you mentioned it twice now, John Ferrara. As it relates to the whether it's the disciplinary process, the potential for someone leaving the town's employ, I think we want to be careful here. My understanding is that those are not matters that are taken up by the select board. Those are exclusively the purview of the town administrator and her management team. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tracy.
That's correct. They would be brought forward, but the select board does have final approval. So on my new hires as well as terminations, there's always a consultation with the chairman.
There is. Okay, my mistake. Okay, thank you. Diane, thoughts?
Well, I do want to say that we have sort of a program in place in terms of when issues arise with performance, or whether it be tardiness or an issue, or issues with someone's performance, we do have a plan in place that we are using to address those things. It's not as if the town is not addressing any sort of tardiness or performance issues. So we do have a system in place that we have available to us as managers to address those issues. I guess to answer the question of what you're asking about bringing it before the Board of Selectmen, I would agree with John that I think we need to have a clear understanding of what our mission is in doing this, and to what end would it be used for. I think we need to have some more specific information before we go to the board and just say, hey, we're thinking of doing performance evaluations. What do you guys think? And take a pulse. I think we need, as a board, to say we're exploring sort of performance management here at the town of Newbury, and this is what we're thinking we'd like to, to look at doing. Is that something that you would support us doing moving forward? I just think you can't have Tracy go before the board and just say, we're thinking of doing this. What's your appetite? I think we do need to have a little bit more specific in terms of what are we actually going to be sort of trying to accomplish? What are the goals? What's the end use of that product? And I think we have to have a little bit of a framework before we just go before the board, but that would just be my feeling. Because if I'm the board, I'm like, I don't know. If I don't know what it's used for, how can I know what I want to support if I don't know kind of the bigger picture of what it is we're going to be accomplishing with this?
Mm-hmm. Mark, and another thing too that occurred to me when Diane was talking is, I think we really want to be able to address the diversity of the charges of what we do, like the highway department guys. Their public relations skills aren't the same as the police guy. I mean, there's such a diverse group that we're looking at as a whole in that community. So I mean, it's different gradings or different elements of an assessment would be weighing differently, obviously, with the different departments, different jobs. So I don't know how, if we're talking about standardizing something as a standardized, assessment that the department heads can weigh in on or customize to their departments. I mean, I don't know if it starts from there up or from the top down in the construction of this. because they're so diverse and and it's just different expectations. As John said earlier, the job descriptions are there. The expectations are there, they're outlined. I think our challenge is going to be how to reduce those to a standardized assessment, taking into consideration the expectations per department, per assignment in that department. Circling way back, it's a lot of dialogue, I think, and housekeeping. We need to try to get our arms around it, before we, move on to presenting something. But I think you're, if I'm hearing you right, Mark, you're just looking to get a pulse of if they have an interest, if we're on a fool's errand or not,
Well, yeah. And frankly, I don't think we're too far from that now. I mean, what I was not referring to was a form, a document, something with definition to it. That's a ways off. But rather, if you will, a statement of intent, and the statement of intent is, the HR board believes, I'm spitballing here, the HR board believes that, it will be beneficial to the town of Newbury and its employee population if we can put in place a basic system of performance evaluation, which will allow us to do the following 4 things. 1, reward strong performance, not necessarily a financial reward, but, positive reinforcement. Attaboy, attagirl, you're doing great. Keep up the good work. It sounds simplistic, but people need that. They may not be getting it. 2, opportunities to review areas of performance that may need improvement. Here, there, over here. 3, an action plan. What steps need to be taken in order to implement that performance improvement plan? It could be something that simple. If we can help Tracy put together a 2 or 3 paragraph white paper, if you will, to present to the select board, I think that's all we need. Frankly, I'm not sure how much additional work we want to put into this until we know that there's an appetite for it.
I agree.
We've seen what's happened in the past. So what I'm hoping we don't end up doing is noodling for 18 hours on this, crafting a 3.5-page form that will work for us, have a die in the vine because the select board.
And just to be clear, that's not what I wasn't saying presenting with the final project. I totally 100% agree with you, because I don't want to be going down a rabbit hole that that's not going to go anywhere either. We have other things we can be doing, but I guess just a very, very simple dialogue, and this would be up to Tracy. I mean, it'd be her decision, because she's going to be the one presenting it. But just a simple dialogue of this is a project the HR board is exploring. The details, the particulars aren't worked out at this point, but are you interested at a very rudimentary level of looking at this as a possible implementation down the line?
Exactly. That's all I'm looking for at this point. So I think tomorrow night, obviously, maybe a little bit early, but maybe we can have Tracy get it onto a select board agenda sometime in the next 30 days. Just so that we don't continue to churn here. I would like to see if we can, even if we get some initial buy-in from the select board with the understanding that they would need to approve the final product, perfectly fine. They're going to have to approve it. They're going to have to, change the bylaw, the personnel bylaw to include performance improvement, a performance evaluation.
You keep mentioning bylaw, would be the personnel policy.
Right.
It's not a bylaw. It would be the personnel policy.
Thank you. Yeah. So, let's start somewhere. So unless there are any other thoughts, let me sort of take it offline. Tony, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have one thought. I can hear one or more of the board saying to you, well, don't we evaluate our people anyway? And another question might be, where's the focus of this? Is it on the employee, or is it on that employee's manager? Does that manager know what to look for and how to look for it? That I think is more the central focus of this plan is the manager, you know, because the employee is under that management veil, if you will. So maybe the gravamine of this whole thing is to make the managers, the department heads, whatever, more specific in their approach. So I think we have to start with the basic focus.
Yes.
You know, who is it? Is the employee or the manager? My feeling, what little I read of this, it's on the manager. You know, and we do have some of it. I haven't reread it, but in the personnel policy manual, there are areas on evaluation, et cetera, et cetera. So, I think it comes down to essentially and fundamentally, what's our focus?
Thank you. Okay, with that in mind, John, last thought?
Yeah, I just want to ask, Diane made a comment earlier about we have a plan in place now. Do supervisors of their direct personnel have a program that they follow and are instructed by the management team to use for quarterly or annual supervision? Pluses and minuses, feedback to the employees that they are supervisors to.
So I guess I would clarify, it's not a pluses and minuses. We have a form that's called an I-CARE form. It's an incident, concern, action, let's see what that acronym stands for.
Report.
Incident, concern, action, reference. So basically it's anytime something happens, I've used it myself, anytime something needs to be addressed. So if there is something that's happened or someone's made a mistake that needs to be addressed, or if someone's consistently tardy, or if there are issues that need to be addressed, the form is used as a communication tool between the manager and the employee to say, look, you know, you're doing great in many areas, but this one area, you know, you're showing up late twice a week. We need to work on that. This is how I want to work on that. This is why it's important. So in a sense, it's a tool that we use. I don't know that it's necessarily something that's widely communicated to all of the managers consistently. And I know it for a fact, some of the new managers probably aren't even aware. Usually it's someone goes to Tracy and says, I've got this issue, how do I address it? And she will reference the form. So I think, you know, I hope that answered your question, John, but, you know, to the point, I think, you know, I went through a supervisory leadership training recently, and in the discussion, the chapter that took place on performance management, some towns use it very, you know, very specific letter of the law. Some people use it as, you know, very loose. But really, I think the goal is, and Tony, you might have alluded to this, it's really a dialogue between the manager and the employee. It's a way for there to be a communication and a discussion about, here are the missions of the organization or the town, and we want to make sure that your performance is aligning with the missions and your job description. And it's really just a tool for there to be an open dialogue. I don't think that my primary understanding is the goal of a performance evaluation, or what we call performance planning or performance management, is not, we're going to document the hell out of you until we can prove one way or the other whether you're staying or you're going. It's really designed to just open up the dialogue about, you know, well, gee, this is how we do this now, or this is how, you know, we're operating now. Could we do this better? And I think there's a way to do that across many multiple functions within the town. So I think it's really, I think we would need to go to the Board of Selectmen and say, we're entertaining the idea of, you know, performance management or performance planning. You know, this is how we see it as a useful tool to the town. Is this something that you would want to support? And then from there, I think we micro down to the, you know, the specifics. But I think, as Mark alluded, I think there's no sense in us continuing to talk about it if they say, and if they say, well, do you do it now? We don't have a formal performance management tool now. That's why we're exploring this, but we do have mechanisms in place that if there are issues, that they are being addressed, and we have used that. So
my only comment there is that ICARE form is very useful. but it's predicated on there being a problem or an issue or an event.
Right, but what it does, Mark, is in the case where I used it, it opened up a dialogue, and it definitely led to a performance improvement.
Right.
And it opened up to a dialogue where I learned things that, you know, I could be doing better, or things that, you know, just as an overall discussion. And I think, you know, we don't want to make it so stringent that someone feels like they're going in and they're being evaluated. It's really a dialogue. You know, here are the things that we're charged with. Here's how we accomplish our function within this department or the town. You know, could we be doing things better? It's a dialogue.
Right. And my only point was going to be that the iCare form is a very useful tool, and it may well be kept as part of a overall performance evaluation process. The only point I was making is that what you need is a broader tool, which also represents the positive reinforcement that comes when there is no incident or an event to discuss. So at the end of the year, if someone's been a model employee and has done a fabulous job, you want an opportunity to have that conversation as well. That's all.
Yeah, so, okay. I agree 100%.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move along here. I think we've.
I think what I'm hearing is we want to put it on the Board of Selectmen agenda. We want to have some sort of a mission statement about what it is we're trying to accomplish, just to see if they will support us moving forward.
Right, but we need to craft that. We need to help Tracy craft that.
Correct.
So that and I'll discuss it with her privately whether she wants to identify this as an opportunity in front of the select board or whether she wants us to. We didn't get that far. She had to run to another meeting. So
yeah, she sent her apologies.
Let me take the opportunity to speak to her separately on it, and I will CC everybody as it relates to the conversation. You know, we can't get into a discussion about it or voting on it because that's against open meeting law, but I can at least let you know whether Tracy wants us versus her to present it to the select at some point in time. How's that?
Great.
Good.
Okay, thank you. Next order of business is the approval of prior meeting minutes. And in chronological order, thank you for preparing these in advance for us, Diane. I think the first one is the subcommittee meeting held on March 29th, 2021.
So that was presented at the last meeting and there was a correction. So I've made the correction on the time that we closed the meeting. And so that was postponed from the last meeting.
Great, let's everybody take a moment on that and review. This was for the job description for the Director of Public Health. Diane, myself, John Ferrara, and Tony. Is there a motion to accept minutes?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Let's vote. Diane Doyle?
Yes.
John Ferrara?
Yes.
Tony Antico?
Yes.
And Mark Leckman, yes. Chief Lucy, you were not part of that subcommittee meeting.
Right.
The next is the meeting of the HR board held on Monday, April 26th. And this was Diane, Tony, John, and John. I was out of town. Let's take a moment for folks to review that. Everyone set on that?
Yep.
All right, is there a motion to accept minutes?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll take it to a vote. Chief Lucy?
Yes.
John Ferrara?
Yes.
Tony Antico?
Yes.
Diane Doyle?
Yes.
Thank you. And finally, the subcommittee meeting held on Monday, May 18th. As it relates to the Director of the Council on Aging position, correct?
Tuesday, May 18th. Does it say Monday? That should be
No,
Tuesday.
my mistake. No, my mistake. It just said Monday.
It does say Monday. It's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
That's a correction.
Where does it say Monday?
On the minutes up at the top, subject. Monday.
Oh, Monday. Okay, yeah.
That's my mistake. It was Tuesday, May 18th.
All right. Well, if that's the only change, we can go ahead and vote on as is, and you can just make that wordsmithing change. So,
As amended. Yep.
let's take a moment to review that. And Chief, you are not part of that subcommittee, so you won't be involved in the vote here. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes?
So
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
Let's vote. Diane Doyle,
Yes.
John Ferrara,
Yes.
Tony Antico,
yes.
and Mark Leckman, yes. Thank you. Next order of business is employee issues. Now that I'm aware of, I would open it up to either Chief Lucy or Diane Doyle.
None on mine. Nope.
None from the chief. Diane, how about you from the town hall?
Nope.
Thank you. Personnel actions and job vacancies. Diane?
So let's see. Since the last meeting, we classified the Council on Aging position, and we have a new opening at the Council on Aging. We had an employee that left on Thursday. And we do have one new employee that's starting at the library that's replacing someone who's retiring.
Okay, I'm sorry, did you say you've got a new position that's just opened up at COA?
Yes, it would be the program coordinator position. Okay.
And that's been advertised or?
No, it just became vacant. It was vacant on Thursday. Okay. So
was that a surprise resignation? Or?
It was, no.
Thank you. Anything else to report on your end, John? At the PD?
Nope, no vacancies or anything like that, no.
Okay, thank you. Discrimination and or ethics issues?
Can I just ask a question?
Yes.
John, were you going to present the full-time dispatch position? What's going on?
What I'm going to do is I'm actually amassing the area rates, and then I'm going to put in a request for a classification. I didn't expect to be able to do anything with that until July 1st anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, Mark, just circling back a little bit with employee personnel issues. I don't think this is an issue, but I can bring the board up to date. We had a department meeting today. Basically, the crux of the department head meeting was the fact of the parameters changing for the COVID response from the governor on the 29th, the lifting of almost all of the restrictions. And so basically what's happening is June 1st is the first day back after the holiday and after the restrictions the modification goes into effect. That'll be falling into town hall with business as usual. There's no restrictions on gathering size. There's no mask mandates at all. Mm-hmm. So that's what we unveiled to the department head today. So we can anticipate that. We'll probably be going to, it looks like, I forget, Diane might remember, I forget the date. I don't have my notes in front of me. But we'll be going to in-person meetings back to that as well. So we're moving in the right direction. Or the wrong direction, depending on how you feel.
So town hall is opening on June 1st. I believe that the 15th is when all the restrictions will be off. So our next meeting in June will be in person if that's that is the plan, is to move forward with in-person meetings.
Yep. And that follows with all town offices, library and everything. So COA, there's a couple of little things, there's some dialogue going on with some proprietary things with the different the programs they have, how things are affected there. So the health agent, myself, and the director and Tracy are in communication about, if there's any modifications that have to be made,
And I was curious about that, Chief, so that an individual town still has the opportunity to make its own decision about whether they will follow state guidance. Is that the way it works?
That's a really good question, because I'm not really sure. I mean, if you're restrictive to what the rules are for gathering and for meetings and such, the only way we're able to do what we're doing right now is per directive of governor order. Right. So I really don't know how to answer that. I'm going to say I suppose, but it doesn't make sense really. Yeah. We've always just followed with what the mandates were. So that's a question that's never really been asked. So it's a good.
I'm just curious about, let's say a vulnerable population like would frequent the COA space cramped to begin with. Is it within the realm that the town or the COA may say we're still going to maintain an indoor mask mandate, that kind of thing? Or
if it would, my sense tells me that if that was to be the case, it'd be the town decision, it'd be the town administrator or the EMA, emergency management type of decision to make. Okay. Individual department heads, no.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that, John. Anything else to report in terms of?
Nope.
Actions. Okay. Safety issues. Other than what you've just mentioned, anything else in the area of safety?
Yes, that would have been a good slot for it too.
That's fine. Covers multitude of purposes. Okay. Other business we've already touched on performance evaluations. I'm not aware of anything else. Any raised hands with other business, new business, anything to report?
Nope.
If not, the date of our next meeting will be, looks like the 28th, June 28th, Monday?
Yes.
4th Monday, okay. How does that look at the moment for everyone? Okay, let's book it for Monday, June the 28th at 4 p.m.
In the conference room.
In the conference room.
Yeah. Right. Wow.
Diane, I think we'll need at least one email reminder of that when you send out the agenda.
Okay. Well, how about if I bring some goodies, and that will make sure for everyone to show up.
I know that'll be in.
I may have trouble finding a pair of pants that fit just to get to the meeting. I don't know if the goodies are going to help that.
I don't wear pants at these meetings. You do?
Well, I'm going to have to start wearing shoes again. That's problematic.
TMI.
I will certainly remind folks that it will be in person.
Okay, thank you.
Are you taking
in all seriousness, look forward to seeing everyone in person. It'll be great.
I just want to make sure. I just want to know if Diane's taking goodies requests. I mean, I'm kind of partial to brownies, but
I know you're a brownie guy. So.
Yeah.
All right, I'm writing down brownies in the minutes.
Okay.
All right.
With that in mind, is there a motion to adjourn?
I will make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a vote. Diane Doyle?
Yes.
John Ferrara?
Yes.
John Lucy?
Yes.
Tony Antico?
Yes.
Mark Leckman, yes. Thank you all, folks. We are adjourned. See you next month.
Take care. We'll see you.
Thank you.